Welcome back to Omjolivia TV, your destination for insightful, analytical, and enlightening content. Are you amongst those that are troubled by the non-disbursement of the long-anticipated grant in this ecosystem? Or amongst those that are doubting the possibility of these grants being disbursed before celebrating Christmas 2024? Don't be. Trust the process. There will be disbursement before celebrating this year Christmas. Yes, we understand that when a certain activity is delayed, when there is failed promises, adjournment of expectation, there is tendency of people doubting the authenticity of such an activity. However, delay is always a blessing in disguise. Yes, it's disturbing while the grant handlers are no more communicating to the masses. The UAAG country director, Apostle Ambassador Ken Wakama, the last time he communicated is about 5 or 6 months ago. Just like the AGPGN president, Comrade Abdul, is almost about 5 or 6 months since he communicated last to the masses. It's disturbing why the stakeholders of disbursement resorted into a state of graveyard silence, deafening silence, for an activity that need repeated interaction and update to the partners. And this form part of the reason why people think there's no possibility of disbursement or there's no fund anywhere. However, before believing that disbursement is going to take place before Christmas, let's review some of the activities that span through scores of days ago. We were told on 28th and 29th November, disbursement is going to start and continue in the first week of December. At the first week of December, we were told that the money is to be credited into 4 major accounts of grant stakeholders. We were told that the money will drop into AGPGN account, the UAAG account, Sanctuary Wealth account, Theobat account, Supreme account, to be disbursed to their own NGOs. And at that point, the date 8, 9, 10 to 12 of December was fixed for disbursement to take place. Nobody expected that Wednesday and Thursday of last week should have gone by without disbursement. And we are here already in the new week, the 3rd week, spanning from the 16th of December 2024, and disbursements haven't still taken place. What actually went wrong? According to feedback from grant stakeholders, between Wednesday and Thursday, where disbursement should have taken place, it was discovered that a certain document or letter need to be received from the World Bank and the IMF, and authorities from the World Bank were to be here in Nigeria to monitor or supervise the disbursement process. And truly, the authorities arrived in Nigeria according to this source, but the acknowledgement letter was not gotten. Therefore, a letter was forwarded to the World Bank for this acknowledgement letter, and between Thursday and Friday, it was confirmed that the letter has been delivered back to the grant handler from the World Bank and the IMF. But at that point, there was nothing much they could have done since it was a weekend. That is from one information source. Another information source holds that there are disagreements between the grant stakeholders on who should be the arrowhead NGO to disburse this money to the masses or to all other grant handlers. There is a disagreement between the grant stakeholders on who should be the mandated non-governmental organizations to disburse these grants to everyone else. An activity that is connected to being greedy. It is in that same week that the grant ecosystem witnessed an eruption of fisticuff, fight, conflict in the ranks of the UAAG, the Power of Five, Iron Lady, Pascal Anyanwu, and some authorities in the UAAG. This source of information holds that there are a certain number of NGOs that should be allocated to all these grant stakeholders, but those numbers have not been allocated to them. It's a scenario of dissatisfaction on allocation of slots to the grant stakeholders, and a scenario of if I am not treated in a certain specific way, or if I'm not the one to disburse this grant, nobody else should. Or if I'm not allocated to a certain number of NGOs, let the process come to a halt. What is disturbing is that greed, self-centeredness, group interest, cabal interest have set in this grant disbursement. At the time, everyone were worried that approval is not given by the government. Now, finally, government has granted approval according to information sources. But the resistance, but the delay now is caused by the grant stakeholders. And when you look at the profile of these people fighting to domicile this power, to monopolize this power, they are purely apostles, pastors, evangelists, archbishops, bishops, clergies fighting for self-glory. If it's not you, let it stop. If it is not you, nobody else. Sometimes one can't help but questions what this Christianity is about if it's not sacrifice. Although we understand that most of the people parading themselves as clergies, pastors, apostles, bishops, reverends, archbishops, most of them are not called to represent this status. They understand that Nigeria recognizes titles, respect titles, and they use money to acquire these statuses for themselves, not to live according to Christ. There's nobody called by God who will demonstrate this high level of materiality or carnal interest or desire in this ecosystem. Nobody called by God will petition to stop the process because his interest is not satisfied or requirements are not fulfilled. Nobody called by God will say, without me, there's nobody else. Even after being aware that the hope, the life, the sustenance, the growth and progress of the NGO CEOs and beneficiaries in this ecosystem hangs on this disbursement. These grant stakeholders are ready to sabotage or frustrate the entire disbursement activity without caring about that man or woman who was divorced because of this grant, or without caring about those church owners, those pastors in their respective churches who have lost their members because of these grants, without caring about those community leaders who have lost their integrity and reputation as a result of this grants process. Yes, I'm aware of some church owners who mobilized their members during the era of SEM to create an account with the commercial banks in expectation of money dropping to those accounts. After waiting for a while, money did not drop. What do you think those members were feeling about the church pastors? And they spent some monies in creating this account. Some even donated heavily to assist the church owners in subscribing for this grant, and it never come by. Some of them understand with the church owners and moved on with them to apply for Theobert grant. Theobert dribbled the church again, but disbursement never take place. I'm aware of community leaders who have lost their integrity and reputation in their respective community because they mobilized their community people to spend money in subscribing for this grant, but disbursement never take place. What are these grant stakeholders fighting for selfish and cabal interest thinking? Women have been divorced from their marital homes. I'm aware of families where their husbands are seeing their wives as liars because of this grant, and families where their wives are seeing their husband as irresponsible and useless because of this grant. These grant stakeholders have destroyed families. These grant stakeholders have caused people not to be able to renew their rents after expiry. So many people are living in uncompleted buildings or have moved to squat with their friends because they can't renew their rent. And so many are going to be evicted by court for not being able to renew their rent as this year is ending. Some have even been evicted. Some are living in the streets under bridges because of this grant. Some have lost their business capital or their business unconditionally shut down. Their children dropping out of school because of expectation of this grant. Yes, some will say, why are people deciding to hang their hope on the grant? Why are they not doing other things with their life? Have they forgotten that grant was a means of investment where people sell their land, their cars, their properties, their business capital, investing into it, expecting ROI? The grant handlers presented themselves as being so genuine. When you see a pastor, imam, a reverend, a bishop telling you he has money to disburse, apostles, why won't you believe? Because you know those names, those titles are synonymous with integrity, with honesty, with sincerity of purpose. People have so believed in these people till they deposited their entire life into them. May God not allow these grand stakeholders to abuse or frustrate this confidence that were bestowed upon them. While these stakeholders are fighting for their interest, while they are fighting for their selfish, personal, or cabal interest, they should not forget those pastors who have lost their members because of this grant they subscribe to, and should not forget those spouses who have been divorced because of them. Yes, if disbursement take place today, all that were lost will be regained. If disbursement take place today, business that collapsed will resuscitate. If disbursement take place today, those that are living in uncompleted building will gain a home. If disbursement take place today, the kids who have dropped out of school can return back to school. If disbursement take place, all that were lost will be regained in thousands fold. Make disbursement happen. These are all distress messages. These are all distress analogies painted to all those that are delaying disbursement. Yes, we understand that you have not done this before, and there are processes that you discover, administrative protocol that you discover while going on the way. At a certain point, some grant subscribers question, why should there be a delay again after approval has been issued by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that all grants accumulated in the CBN should be disbursed? Who is that private individual that should resist the authority of the federal government? There is a clause to this, though. It's one thing for the government to grant approval for an activity to take place. It's another thing for the activity to be carried out by the individual whose approval was issued to. Remember, this grant doesn't belong to the government. It belongs to a non-governmental organization. So government can grant approval but cannot force or order that entity or facility to disburse it to the masses. It's like government issuing a certificate of export from the Standard Organization of Nigeria to exporters. Government will not force the exporters to export. Even if they have granted them the approval, the exporters is at their liberty. They reserve full right to decide to export what they intended or never export at all. But in this case, why should grant handlers who were desperate for approval from the government not disburse after being granted approval? And this is the same approval that past grant handlers since the era of Telpacon, SEM, Hilbert never secured from the government of the time and have been granted by the government of our time. Why should every other interest be delaying disbursement? That's aside. What we know is that no man's interest, no man's timetable can supersede or delay God's timetable. Immediately God wishes for his will to be manifested, no man stands against it. We will never be disappointed in this grant ecosystem. Let's look at possibilities of disbursement happening before Christmas. Some audience of subscribers have concluded that disbursement will never take place this year again because CBN have closed their ledger on the 14th. Is that true? Although CBN officially closes on the 20th of every year, but this is purely aside. As we have stated earlier, this grant belongs to a non-governmental body. We were told earlier that the money dropped from the CBN to the mother account that will disburse to all other grant stakeholders to disburse to their own NGOs under them. Therefore, we have gone beyond the factor of CBN closing for the year affecting or stopping disbursement. It's far from that. Whether CBN closes or not, disbursement will continually take place because the money is with the non-governmental organization to disburse to the masses. Therefore, expect disbursement even on weekends. Holidays or weekends is not a limitation for disbursement in this level we are. Some people who have received alerts from other donors before can attest to the fact that they receive their own alert on the Saturday morning or on a Sunday morning. to be surprised by 70 figures displayed on the credit alert on their phone screen. To be surprised by 70 figures displayed on the credit alert on their phone screen. They have to wipe their eyes clearly and confirm, yes, it is an alert for a grant they anticipated. Our grant is going to be like that. You'll be wake up in the morning and an hour least expected, be greeted by 7 figures on your phone. We have been briefed by grant stakeholders that approval was given by the federal government to disburse this grant, and the money was cleared by the CBN to the mother NGO to disburse to other grant stakeholders or grant handlers to disburse to their NGOs. And just a few days ago, the acknowledgement letter that was to be issued by the IMF and the World Bank was successfully delivered to the grant handler. Therefore, nothing technically is holding disbursement from happening. Those who are close to grant authorities can understand why their grant stakeholders are telling them that disbursement is sacrosanct. And ultimately, we were briefed by reliable sources that the 16th of December was fixed for disbursement to take place. And if the letter from the World Bank and IMF was received on Friday last week, then disbursement will start on Monday, 16th of December 2024. To be on the safe side, instead of holding on to Monday, the 16th of December, which we are already in now, expect disbursement to happen before the celebration of this year, Christmas 2024. It will continue from other stakeholders if actually they will receive as speculated, the likes of Mama Supreme, the UAAG, AGPGN, St. Rita, Theobald Global Foundation, etc., etc. If they are receiving, they will be the first batch to receive from the main NGO. Then it will trickle down from the grant handlers account to the NGO CEOs. Then the NGO will be given an interval to disburse to their beneficiaries. Then this cannot be completed in the sketch of this year. But it's important that the activity commences before Christmas. When it commences, we are confident it will continue. Others will continually receive in the new year ahead. I know there are some people that are still entertaining doubt even at this point. There's those audience that believe there's no money anywhere. And those audience that believes if we have spanned till November without it, till the 12th and 16th of December without it, then there will be no more. Those audience are likened to Mary and Martha in John chapter 11, verse 1 to 44. In the story, messengers from Bethany approached Jesus Christ when he was still preaching across the riverside with a message that Lazarus is terribly ill. Jesus told them they should go, he would join them shortly. But Jesus delayed appearing at Bethany for 2 days, and by the time he arrived, Lazarus was already dead. And Martha quickly rushed to Jesus and said, "Had it been you were here, Lord, my brother wouldn't have been dead." Then Jesus assured Martha, "Lazarus is only sleeping. I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, though they die, will live again. And those who are still alive will never die." "Do you believe me?" Jesus asked Martha, and he said, "Yes, Lord, I believe in you because you are the true Son of God." And on entering the village, Jesus met Mary and those who came to console with her, weeping and grieving profusely. Jesus was so moved, he asked where Lazarus was buried. It is at this point the shortest verse in the 4 Gospels and the entire Bible was recorded. Jesus wept. Immediately he asked for the stone to be rolled out, but Martha interjected, "It's going to smell." And Jesus turned to Martha, "Did I not tell you, if you believe, you will see God's glory?" Jesus proceeded as they roll out the stone and call out, "Lazarus, come out." Then Lazarus come out wrapped in a strip of linen. Everywhere erupted with unprecedented joy. This is manifestation of God. This is the same way joy will be erupted in this ecosystem shortly as disbursement is going to break out. The significance of this story is that God has no timetable. There's nothing like time interval. There's nothing like lateness. Yes, Lazarus was dead for 4 days, was even smelling. But with God, those intervals, those lateness doesn't matter anymore. Disbursement might have been delayed for the past 8 or 10 years ago. There is manifestation of God's glory irrespective of the time zone. With God's presence, with God's arrival, there's no such thing like delay. There's no such thing like 4 days. There's no such thing like 10 years. Whether you believe it or not, Martha doubted the process, but her doubt did not stop the manifestation of God's glory. The hour has finally come for all those who hears his voice from the grave to come out. The hours have finally come for all those who were waiting for 8 years for disbursement to finally see God's glory. For all those who have been thrown out of their apartment, who couldn't renew their rent, to renew it and return to mansions. The hour has finally come for all those who have lost members of their churches to gain mammoth crowd of followership. There is no delay, whether you believe or not. There is no delay when God arrives. Are you a bundle head, an NGO CEO, or beneficiary? Your hour of breakthrough is here. At the moment, it's not a question of if disbursement is taking place before Christmas or the New Year. It's confirmed that it's starting from the 16th and roll through the Christmas period through the New Year. The doubt of Martha did not stop the manifestation of God's glory when Jesus called out Lazarus. Just like the doubt of grant subscribers or the greedy activities of grant handlers will not stop the manifestation of God's glory in this ecosystem, starting from now. If you are new to our channel or haven't subscribed, kindly hit the subscription button and turn on the notification bell. Hence, when we publish our full disbursement broadcast, you will be immediately notified. Thank you for being here on Omjolivia TV. Bye.